Hey everybody, it's your friend and your guy, Gardiner. Today we're going to be talking about Steam Deck news, and while it has been a relatively light week in terms of deck news, what we've lacked in quantity, we've made up for in quality. So let's jump in and talk about the awesome stuff that's happened in the Steam Deck world this week. The first thing I want to talk about is Bazzite or Bazzite. I'm going to say Bazzite because I have pragmatic language disorder and I have to pronounce things certain ways or else I go crazy. So Bazzite has hit over 1,000 commits in the 200 days since it's been a project. Now, you might be wondering, what the heck even is Bazzite? Well, Bazzite is a project that's been on my radar for a little while, but if you haven't heard of it, it's an alternative to SteamOS. It's made for the Steam Deck's hardware, but also is capable of being run on any x86 system. It's a SteamOS-like operating system that comes with many conveniences pre-installed. For example, it comes with stuff like OpenRGB, which allows you to control multiple different RGB configurations on your desktop. It also has GC adapter OC, which allows you to overclock your GameCube controller adapter to 1,000 hertz polling rate, which is incredibly fast and to some might be necessary. It comes with Waydroid pre-installed for running Android apps, and future releases will allow you to set this up through the Bazzite portal. It comes with the Nix package manager, which opens up a whole new world of applications, Linux applications on your system. The System76 scheduler is pre-installed, and it tweaks system process priority to optimize the gaming experience. It has multiple Xbox controller drivers, which makes for a better experience and better hardware compatibility on your PC. And importantly, it comes with the proprietary NVIDIA drivers pre-installed. So if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can actually use this, unlike a few other SteamOS-like operating systems that don't offer NVIDIA support. So Bazzite is a very exciting SteamOS alternative. It bills itself as a SteamOS alternative. It says that it's a ready-to-game SteamOS-like for desktop computers and living room home theater PCs, and I have to say that this is a very exciting project to me. Like I mentioned at the top of this story, they've just recently hit version 1.1, and included with that is a bunch of new and exciting features. So for the Steam Deck's hardware specifically, they have new color calibrated profiles for matte and reflective displays on the Steam Deck. They have the ROM properties shell extension pre-installed, which will automatically display ROM details like box art and other details and metadata about your collection of ROMs, retro games, and ISOs too. So this updated version has the Twitter Twimoji fonts, which matches what SteamOS has pre-installed. They've updated Greenlight to version 2.0.0, which, and if you're not familiar with Greenlight, it's an open source Xbox cloud client for Linux. And there's a myriad of other features here. There's going to be a link below to all of the new and exciting things that came with Bazzite 1.1. Now, the question is, what do you think about Bazzite? I haven't seen a lot about this on like the subreddit. This seems a little obscure to me right now, so I'm hoping that I can get the word out there and have people check it out and let me know what you think in the comments, because I think that this is a really exciting Linux distro, and it's not just for the Steam Deck, but it does have a special focus on the Steam Deck, and I think that that's really exciting. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this project. And while you're down there, why not like that smash button? It's the best way to tell YouTube that you want to see more videos just like this. You can also subscribe if that's more your speed. If you like what I'm doing here, if you believe in the work that I'm doing, you can use the links below to become a patron. My videos would not be possible if it weren't for the people who support this show. So I want to say thank you to them. All right, next up, I want to talk about Starfield. There's a new mod out that aims to improve the performance of Starfield on Steam Deck and other handheld PCs, and it's pretty exciting. So let's talk about this. Now, you would think that a company like Bethesda, with all their resources, would be able to optimize their game for a standard piece of hardware like the Steam Deck. I'm sorry, I can't say that with a straight face. enter the community, where this new mod comes out called Steam Deck Essentials. It's created by this guy named The Hybrid. What this is a mod that's aiming to improve performance, stability, and consistency for the Steam Deck. And it allows low-powered handhelds and PCs to play the game, offering up to 38% better performance compared to vanilla low settings depending on the scene. Now, this is really exciting here because this means that the Steam Deck is actually going to be able to play Starfield. And this is super cool. The community is stepping up to make sure that the game is playable on the Steam Deck and other low-powered handhelds. This targets like INEO devices, and it targets the RG Ally and the whatever the other ones are. I can't even think right now. And, you know, while it's not perfect, this is still like a beta, like in development mod. It definitely has some performance improvements here. So the first thing that it does is it compresses textures and files with a technique that's actually better compatible for SD cards and hard disks. Basically, it enables better texture streaming, loading times, and 1% lows. It also reduces texture size so it doesn't exceed the Steam Deck's VRAM, and that in turn reduces bad frame rates by having to clear out and reload assets into VRAM. And this also improves 1% lows. It also increases the fluidity of interactions and animations at 40 FPS, which enables a smoother experience overall. And finally, this mod lowers settings not exposed in the settings menu, and it lowers existing settings in the menu further beyond the lowest threshold visible in the settings menu. This improves both GPU and CPU performance, and it's able to increase the average frames per second across the board at the cost of lower image quality, of course. Now, instead of like increasing your overall frames per second, what this does is it reduces the stuttering and frame pacing issues that many people have seen throughout Starfield. The game is very CPU bound, and for the Steam Deck to play it at like 40 frames per second is pretty hard in some places, like especially in cities in the game. Now, it seems like installation is pretty straightforward. I haven't tried this myself, but I know that a lot of people who watch these videos are enjoying Starfield, or at least trying to enjoy Starfield on their Steam Deck. So to install this, you just need to put the files in the correct place. So you download this mod. In the Starfield directory, you're going to move those files into the actual game's main directory. And then you're going to put all the files that are in documents into the documents folder. Now, there's a list of directories in the post for this mod. And then you're also going to need to delete your shader cache from every location, and there are a few. So if you look at the shader cache locations, these are where you're going to want to delete your shader caches from. It looks like there's vendor-specific app data that needs to be deleted, and then you're also going to want to delete these files here. You'll also want to change to a different preset and then switch back to the low settings in the settings menu for everything to take effect. But once you have done that, though, it looks like a lot of people are having a lot of luck with this mod, despite it being in beta here. So Rob Mockren says, just came to say, loaded all 3 files, works great. It's enjoyable to play on the go. There are several people in here who are saying that this just worked for them. There are other people who have said that this isn't working super great, or they might not have followed the instructions correctly. But if you play Starfield on your Steam Deck and you're having 1% lows that are unacceptable to you, have a gander at this, test it out, see if it works for you. Okay, next up, I'm really interested in this story, but I want to hear what you guys think about this. So we know that Valve loves their Final Fantasy references. Their naming scheme for the Steam Deck's custom APU references Final Fantasy characters. We have Aerith. That's the only one in the line we have so far. Well, the community has discovered some heretofore unheard of Valve hardware, and it's in the Linux kernel, an upcoming Linux kernel release. And it appears to be referencing Final Fantasy. So the question is, what the heck is this? Let's dig into it. So the credit here goes to Phoronix for finding this reference. Phoronix, reading their post was super enlightening about this. Now, I'm not a C programmer, so oftentimes the C code goes over my head. but I am a programmer to some extent, so I understand some of this. So I'm going to do my best to interpret this. If I got anything wrong, leave me a comment down below. So what are the actual changes that were found in the Linux kernel? Well, in preparation for Linux 6.6, the AMD Vango sound driver saw an expansion. Since the Steam Deck is the sole notable instance of the Vango hardware in the Linux kernel, it's usually Valve or one of their contractors who are committing updates to this code. And here we see a Collabora developer, one of Valve's contractors, actually committing this here. So this update adds new audio codec support to the Vango hardware, but this is to a previously unknown Valve product called Sephiroth. Now, this is interesting because Sephiroth is the character in Final Fantasy VII that kills Aerith. Aerith is the current APU for the Steam Deck. Pure speculation, also spoilers, whoops. So enough of the Final Fantasy lore. What the heck could Sephiroth realistically be? Now, this is decidedly part of the AMD Vango APU architecture. This means that whatever Sephiroth is not a generational leap forward for deck hardware. This is not the Steam Deck 2. But this could be a modest hardware refresh. This could be a new Steam Deck with better power management, which would be mind-boggling. It could have a bigger battery, it could have an improved screen, could have an improved cooling system or better form factor. This is all speculation. It could also be the standalone VR headset that we've been hearing about from Valve for a while now, called Deckard. That's the code name anyway. Or perhaps it's just some development board that is internal to Valve and will never see the light of day. Who knows at this point? It's all speculation, but I would personally speculate that I think there's a higher likelihood of this being standalone VR hardware, as the audio codecs here could be for like the headphone devices that are going to be on, well, let me qualify and say that would presumably be on a standalone VR headset. So we've had 3 pretty big stories this week I wanted to talk about, but I want to know if I missed anything. Leave me a comment and let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of the stories that we've talked about today. I think that's going to do it for now, though. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.